Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be exploring crypto, but with a bit of a twist.
Hmm.
We're diving into some source material that, well, it kind of looks at how men and women approach crypto investing, differently.
Interesting. I'm all ears.
Yeah. So the source material we've got, it's a discussion with two guests, Sam and Taylor,
Okay.
and they share their experiences and observations, really interesting stuff. Right off the bat, there's this clear contrast.
Yeah.
Sam, he's all about the thrill of crypto. It's like a game to him.
Mm.
But Taylor, she's focused on the long term, stability, and really understanding like the purpose of a coin before she invests.
Hmm. That is fascinating. It really highlights, the classic differences you see in risk tolerance
Hmm.
and investment goals. And this isn't just crypto, right? We see this across all sorts of investment areas.
For sure. And Sam actually mentioned he compares trades with his friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah, almost like it's a competition. See who can make the boldest moves and all that.
Interesting. I mean, it does make you think about how historically men have often, viewed financial success through that lens of competition, right?
Yeah.
Like status, proving yourself. But does that actually impact the choices they make? That's what's really intriguing.
It is. And it leads us to another point, actually research. Women, it turns out, spend way more time researching investments than men do.
Yeah, and this is where Taylor's perspective as a woman is so valuable. She talks about how women are often, I guess, conditioned to be the safety net, right?
Hmm.
Responsible for financial stability.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that they feel this strong need to be confident in their decisions, especially in a market as volatile as crypto.
Absolutely. So while some investors might just dive right in, others want that extra layer of assurance. Now, Sam, on the other hand, he's all about trust your gut, move fast. Timing is everything for him. And he talked a lot about FOMO, that fear of missing out.
Ah, the dreaded FOMO. It can lead to some, let's say, interesting decisions,
Hmm.
especially in crypto, where things move so fast.
Right. And that brings us to, well, I guess a sort of cautionary tale. Remember Dogecoin?
Oh, how could we forget?
It was everywhere.
It was. And, it's the perfect example of what FOMO can do. Sure, some people made a lot of money, but a lot of people lost big, too.
Mm-hmm.
It shows just how crucial research is, even if you're moving quickly. I bet you someone like you who values research probably saw some red flags early on.
Uh-huh, maybe. But that's a story for another time. So the source material also delved into how men and women, talk about crypto with their friends.
Oh, right. How's that go?
Well, turns out it's pretty different. Sam talked about how he and his buddies, they exchange tips, compare wins, even tease each other if a trade goes bad. Almost like, sports.
Ah, I see. So it's very social for them. Competitive almost.
Yeah, exactly. But Taylor's experience, completely different. She described women being much more collaborative, sharing insights, resources, learning together.
Really interesting contrast, isn't it?
Yeah.
For some, crypto is woven into their existing social circles. For others, it leads to, like, forming whole new communities focused on learning and support.
It really is. It's like study group versus locker room. Two completely different vibes.
Exactly. And, I think both approaches have their own merits. The competitive spirit can drive innovation and bold decisions, but that collaborative approach, that fosters, shared learning and support. It's fascinating to see how those dynamics play out.
Absolutely. And so it makes you wonder, right? Do these different approaches actually impact how successful men and women are at crypto investing?
Ah, now that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Yeah, it really makes you think, doesn't it,
Huh.
about whether those different approaches actually lead to different outcomes.
Right. Like who's really coming out on top here?
Well, the source material actually had some interesting thoughts on that.
Oh, yeah. What'd they say?
Taylor, she argued that women, with their, more cautious approach to the research they do, it often leads to more consistent results.
Makes sense, right? Slow and steady wins the race kind of thing.
Exactly. They might not hit those massive, like, headline-grabbing wins,
Right.
but they're also less likely to suffer those really devastating losses.
Hmm.
It's all about playing that long game,
Yeah.
building wealth gradually over time.
Interesting. And what about Sam? What was his take?
Well, he countered that by saying, men's willingness to take risks, sometimes that can lead to those life-changing gains, the ones you hear about.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But he stressed that it's not just reckless gambling. He called it calculated risk-taking. Finding that balance between being bold but also making informed decisions, that's where the real magic happens, he said.
So not just throwing money at anything that sounds exciting.
Exactly. It's about having a strategy behind those risks.
Interesting. So it sounds like maybe there isn't one better approach, really.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? All
Yeah.
have their strengths and their weaknesses.
So for someone like me, someone who values learning and getting a well-rounded understanding, what should I take away from this?
Well, the key takeaway isn't about deciding which approach is superior. It's about recognizing that there's value in both.
Ah, okay.
And maybe, just maybe, thinking about how you can integrate aspects of both into your own investment strategy.
I like that. Thinking outside the box, taking the best of both worlds.
Exactly. Because ultimately, it's not about men versus women, right? It's
Ah.
about understanding the spectrum of approaches out there and figuring out what works best for you as an individual.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's more about personalizing your strategy rather than following a one-size-fits-all approach.
Exactly. And as you learn more, you'll start to see those different styles reflected in the market. It's like a whole new layer of understanding.
So how can someone who maybe naturally leans toward one style start to incorporate elements of the other? Like, are there specific techniques or ways of thinking that could help?
Oh, absolutely. Let's take Sam as an example, someone who's drawn to risk and fast action. For him, maybe the key is slowing down just a little, not losing that drive, but adding in a bit of research. Informed decision-making on top of that gut feeling.
So instead of jumping on, say, the latest meme coin, just because everyone's talking about it,
Yeah. He might spend an hour or two digging into the project, reading their white paper, really understanding the technology behind it.
it sounds way more strategic.
Right. And even looking at what the skeptics are saying,
Yeah.
not just the hype.
Interesting. And what about someone like Taylor, who's already doing the research? What would be their challenge?
Well, for her, it might be overcoming that fear of missing out, that FOMO we talked about. Maybe exploring a small allocation to a higher risk, higher reward asset.
So like dipping her toes into a more volatile part of the market, but just a tiny bit.
Exactly. Just to test the waters, see how it feels, almost like a controlled experiment.
I like that analogy. So it's about stretching those comfort zones a little, but in a calculated way.
Precisely. And in both cases, you know what I think can be incredibly helpful? Finding a community or even just a few friends who have different investing styles than you.
Ah, so you can bounce ideas off each other.
Exactly. Challenge each other's assumptions. Learn from each other's experiences. It's invaluable.
That's great advice. So surrounding yourself with people who have diverse perspectives can really enhance your learning and decision making.
Absolutely. And don't underestimate the power of learning from your mistakes, too.
Oh, right. Mistakes happen.
They do.
Yeah.
But whether you took a risk that didn't pay off or missed an opportunity because you were too cautious, the key is to analyze what happened, understand why, and use that to refine your approach.
So embracing those learning moments, whether they're wins or losses, is essential for growth.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's all part of the process.
So we've talked a lot about these contrasting styles, risk tolerances, all that. But it makes me wonder, is there any evidence that one gender actually performs better than the other in the crypto market?
Ooh, that's a fascinating question. And unfortunately, there's no easy answer.
Why not?
Well, the data we have on crypto investing, it's still pretty new,
Strange.
and often limited by things like self-reporting and the anonymity that's often involved.
Yeah, I can see how that would make it hard to get a clear picture.
Exactly. But there are some interesting studies out there that suggest there might be some differences.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, for example, Fidelity Investments did a study, and they found that women, on average, earned higher returns than men
No way. Across all investment types.
across various types, not just crypto,
Mm.
which is interesting, right?
Very interesting. So it might not be just about crypto specifically, but maybe a broader trend in how men and women approach investing overall.
That's one way to look at it. The study suggested that maybe it's because women tend to hold on to investments for longer.
Makes sense. Ride out those dips.
Right. And they also tend to trade less frequently, which can help too.
So that aligns with what Taylor was saying, that preference for long-term stability and really understanding her investments.
Exactly. But, like I said, the data is limited.
Right, right.
So are there other findings that support or maybe even challenge this idea?
Well, there's a more recent study. This one was by eToro, a social trading platform. They focused specifically on crypto.
Interesting. And what did they find?
They found that among their users, women were more likely to have a diversified crypto portfolio.
Smart. Not putting all your eggs in one basket, as they say.
Exactly, spreading that risk. And they were also more likely to invest in Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Ah, the more established ones compared to some of those, what are they called, altcoins?
Exactly,
Okay,
which are often much more volatile.
right.
So it seems like maybe there's a tendency towards a slightly more cautious approach among women crypto investors, at least according to that data.
Makes sense, given what we've been discussing.
It does. But again, got to remember, these are just snapshots based on specific data sets.
So we can't draw any sweeping conclusions just yet.
Not quite. We need more research to really understand the nuances of gender differences in crypto investment performance. So for our listener who's all about gaining knowledge efficiently, what's the main takeaway from all this? It sounds like the data's still a bit inconclusive.
It is, and you know what? It would be irresponsible to say that one gender is just flat out better at crypto investing than the other.
Right, it's not a competition.
Exactly. We're
Right.
talking about general tendencies here, not hard and fast rules. And there's so much variation within each gender, too.
Of course, every individual is different.
Absolutely. So really, it all comes back to understanding yourself as an investor, your strengths, your weaknesses, and using those insights to build a strategy that works for you, regardless of gender.
That makes a lot of sense. So self-awareness and personalized strategies are key. But all this talk about different styles and risk tolerances, it makes me think about something. Is there a sort of ideal crypto investor profile? Like, is there a magic formula that combines the best of all these traits?
Ah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? If there were a simple formula, I'm sure someone would have bottled it up and sold it by now. But the truth is, I think the ideal investor is the one who's constantly evolving.
Well, evolving.
Yeah, adapting,
Yeah,
learning. Because this market, it's never static.
it's true. It changes so fast.
Exactly. So it's not about fitting into a specific mold. It's about being dynamic and responsive to whatever the market throws your way.
So being flexible and open to new information is crucial.
Absolutely. It requires you to step outside your comfort zone, challenge your assumptions, and importantly, learn from your mistakes.
It's a journey of continuous learning then.
You got it. And the most successful investors, they're the ones who embrace that journey with, curiosity, resilience, and a real thirst for knowledge.
Makes sense. It's not just about the money, it's about the growth along the way.
Exactly. And for our listener who's been with us this whole time, absorbing all this info, I'd love to hear what's really stood out to you. What's that aha moment you're taking away from this deep dive?
Yeah, after exploring all these different approaches, the risk takers, the cautious researchers, the community builders, what's resonating with you? What's that one big takeaway?
Yeah, there's so many great takeaways from this discussion. It's hard to pick just one.
It really is. But I think for me, what stands out is this idea that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to crypto investing.
I agree. That's been a really important thread throughout our conversation.
It's not about men versus women. It's about recognizing that there's a whole spectrum of approaches out there.
Exactly. And each approach has its own strengths and its own potential pitfalls.
Right, so it's about finding what works best for you as an individual based on your own goals, your risk tolerance, your personality, all of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where self-awareness becomes so crucial.
Absolutely. Knowing yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, that's the foundation for building a solid investment strategy.
And it's not just about the strategy itself. It's also about having the right mindset.
Mine's
Yeah. Approaching crypto investing with curiosity, a willingness to learn, and the resilience to bounce back from setbacks.
because, let's be honest, there will be setbacks.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, yeah.
The crypto market is volatile, it's unpredictable, there will be ups and downs along the way.
So being able to ride out those waves, both the highs and the lows, is essential.
It is. And that's where having a strong community can make a world of difference.
Ah, community. We keep coming back to that, don't we?
We do, because it's that important. Having people you can connect with, share ideas with, learn from, it can provide so much support and guidance along the way.
And not just support, but also accountability. Right.
Exactly. When you're part of a community, you're more likely to stick to your plan, stay disciplined, and avoid making those impulsive decisions.
So community can actually play a role in shaping better investing habits.
I truly believe it does. It's about surrounding yourself with people who share your passion for crypto, even if their approaches are different from yours.
It's about learning from each other, challenging each other, and growing together.
Precisely. And as we wrap up this deep dive,
Right.
I want to leave our listener with one final thought.
Ooh, I love a good final thought.
Remember, this is just the beginning of your crypto journey. There's so much to explore, so much to learn, and the most exciting discoveries often happen when we step outside our comfort zones, challenge our assumptions, and embrace the unknown.
So stay curious, stay open-minded, and never stop learning.
Beautifully said. And remember, you don't have to go it alone. There's a vibrant community out there waiting to welcome you.
It's been such an insightful exploration. I feel like we've really uncovered some hidden gems today.
Me too. It's been a pleasure diving deep with you and with our amazing listener.
And to our listener, thank you for joining us on this adventure. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.